Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by a very special guest. Northeastern sophomore Abbey Marohn joins the podcast today. Welcome to the podcast, Abbey, and how's everything going?
Everything's going great. Yeah, it's good to be on. My dad and I are big fans. We listen to every podcast together and go over them. So it's fun to finally be on. And yeah.
Well, I appreciate you listening. It means a lot to me. And like I said in the intro, you're now a sophomore. How does that feel, getting your freshman year done out of the way? And it's such an unusual season as well.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about it briefly, but it was a whirlwind for sure. And especially as a first year, an unbelievable experience, especially considering, what our team accomplished. And yeah, it was unorthodox, but yeah, I'm excited for the next year to see what, we're all going towards.
Now, how have you been able to process making the national championship game? It's been a couple of months now, but have you fully processed what just happened, and how have you dealt with the whole experience you had as a freshman so far?
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's been a few months now, so I had some time to sit in and just kind of reflect on the season, what I want to focus on this summer to improve on. But yeah, I think obviously a strange ending to our season, which is a strange season. So yeah, had a bit of time to reflect, and especially we had talks with our coaches at the end of the season, and that was great to hear their input and look forward. So.
Now, what have you been up to since the season ended a few months ago? Anything interesting? Any fun things you've been doing? Just trying to let loose a little bit, just because things are starting to open back up, especially in the Boston area.
Yeah, I mean, it's after the tournament, just focusing on healing my body mentally and physically. It was a shorter season than I think we're normally used to, but it was high intensity, quick, lots of games in a quick span of time. So yeah, I'm living in Boston this summer, working a job, and then training on campus. So it's been great to train with some of my teammates, and then spend some time exploring the city as well. So.
What's your favorite part about the city? What have you gotten to explore so far? Because I've talked to Maureen Murphy, and she was telling me how you guys really couldn't go out of your dorm rooms this year just because of all the COVID regulations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Boston, the school being in Boston was one of the reasons why I chose it. So it was a little different, obviously, not being able to explore it during the season. But yeah, I've been able to go out and just kind of see, the greater Boston area. I went. My dad and my grandpa were here the other week, and we went and got lobster. So just trying to do in Boston area type things. But yeah, definitely looking forward to doing more of that, and go into a Red Sox game in the next couple of weeks. So it should be fun to see the culture and all that.
Nice. Have you been to Fenway before?
I haven't. I've been around the area, but yeah, I haven't been actually to a Red Sox game yet. So that should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's going to be exciting, especially when you first walk in, and because it's the oldest ballpark in America. So all the baseball nostalgia that you feel when you walk in is a feeling that it's indescribable. So I'm excited to hear what that was like, what that's going to be like for you when you get that experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think even when we walk around, there's statues everywhere, and I mean for us, we have Matthews Arena, which is historic in itself. So it's really cool, Boston as a sports city, kind of what they've grown and established over the years. So
That's awesome. And the Red Sox are playing very well right now. So that makes the game going to be even more exciting when it
yeah,
comes.
for sure.
Now, I kind of want to talk a little bit about hockey. What are some of your off-season plans, and what do you hope to work on regarding your game heading into next season?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned, I'm here in Boston, so skating with teammates and training with them as well. So that's always fun. We push each other a lot, so getting better and working hard. But I think I really want to work, on my development, on my role as a player on the team. Again, talking with my coaches, wanting to improve defending around the net, playing shutdown D, and just doing the details consistently. Because I think your first year is really getting used to what college hockey is, and then your second year is just settling into that and trying to figure out what you do well. So.
Now, I want to transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and work all the way up to where you are now with Northeastern. So you're from St. Joseph, Michigan. Just talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing hockey?
Yeah, so St. Joe's on the west side of Michigan. So um, in terms of hockey in that state, it's mostly on the East Coast, kind of concentrated in Detroit. So there's pretty little on the West Coast, just in general, let alone girls hockey. So, but I started playing when I was 5. Grew up going to our local rink, which was an outdoor rink. So that was a lot of fun to kind of learn the game and just developed a love for it there. And it was low level hockey, and so I just had fun making friends and a lot of fond memories there for sure. Um, but yeah, I think definitely just falling in love with it, but just having fun and yeah, had to eventually move out to play higher level, but a great place to start and really thankful for my opportunities there.
Did anyone specific get you into hockey, like one of your parents, maybe a sibling? I'm just curious, like what got you into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, according to my parents, we'd always go to free skate, and I just after I think one of them there was like pickup, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so my dad is one of my biggest supporters. I mean, my mom and my dad, my whole family. But yeah, he was like a great facilitator of letting me do that. He never grew up playing hockey because again the opportunities were slim. But he's been nothing but my biggest supporter. So probably him and my mom as well. So both of them.
Now, who was your favorite player growing up, and what teams did you watch growing up as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Michigan. I was always a Red Wings fan. '08, '09 was kind of their peak season. I was young, and that was kind of when I was starting hockey as well. So I'm a defenseman, so Nick Lidstrom was my guy for a long time. But I think branching out a little bit more, especially getting into Boston area hockey, Torrey Krug, Charlie McAvoy, just great dynamic players. But yeah, there's a lot of young talent coming up as well. So Quinn Hughes is a really shifty player, and so I love watching him play.
Yeah, no, I had the chance to see Cale Makar play at UMass in person before, and just seeing how great of a defenseman he is, and just how fast he was too, because he went from one end of the ice to the other end of the ice, and like no one could touch him, and it was just crazy to watch him play in person. And now he's obviously having a lot of success with the Avalanche.
Yeah, he's unreal too. Both of them, obviously they were going hard for rookie of the year, and so that was amazing to see them both play on their first season and how well they did, and they're going to be great players. So yeah.
Now, I also want to ask you. So you're now in Boston. So just talk about some of the Bruins defensemen, because I know they had some injuries in the playoffs this year, but I feel like there's a lot of underrated defensemen that play for Boston. Players like Mike Riley, who they just acquired. I think he's a
Yeah.
really good defenseman, and Matt Grzelcyk as well.
Yeah, Mike Riley's definitely a great ad for them. I think the Red Wings not making the playoffs lately, I've kind of jumped on the Boston bandwagon a bit. So yeah, definitely Mike Riley stuck out to me once they acquired him, and I was like, oh, this guy is really fun to watch, and adds a great element to their decor. And I think Charlie McAvoy, obviously, playing from BU and being kind of like a Boston area kid is just really cool for him to be a part of that team. And so yeah, both of them, all their D, honestly.
And you get to play with some incredible defensemen on your team. Skylar Fontaine was obviously a top 10 Patty Kazmaier candidate, and you get to play with Lauren McInnes as well, who I think is a really underrated player as well. Just talk about learning under some of those great defensemen in your first year in college hockey.
Yeah, I mean, the entire decor, just so grateful to have been, under them and learning from them like every single day. You mentioned Skylar; she's an insanely dynamic player. So it's fun to see what she does. She does something new every single game, and so it's like, well, what's she gonna do now? And she just amazing. A great person too, all of them. Brooke Hobson, our captain, was fortunate enough to play with her at the beginning of the season. So I'm just learning so much under her as well, and then ended up with Megan Carter, and she's extremely underrated, I think, as well. And like Lauren, you said, she's just such a shutdown defender and a great person too. So I'm really excited to see what we basically got the same core for
Mhm.
next year. So it should be fun with the two additional freshmen. So we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, no, the thing I love about your defensive core is just how like players like there's players like Skylar Fontaine who are great offensive defensemen, but then there's players like yourself and Lauren who are really good shutdown defensemen. It's good to kind of have that dynamic of players that are offensive and really defensive on that D core. And I think that's what makes your team so successful just on that aspect of things.
Yeah, definitely. I think the the I guess the range of different skill sets that we have, we all complement each other so well, and the communication. I mean, our coach, our D coach, Coach Berman, is unreal. She's so supportive, and everyone loves her. She's a great person, and she cares about us as people and players, like all of our coaches do. Coach Flint, Coach Carp. So I think having her, and she obviously played at Northeastern as well. She's got so much experience, and just 1 year, such a learning experience. So I'm looking forward to see what the next 4 years, I guess now, are going to hold.
Now, before Northeastern, you played for Culver Academy. Just how did you get the opportunity to go to that school in Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for an opportunity to kind of take my career to the next level. Like I mentioned, the west side of Michigan doesn't offer a whole lot of girls hockey. So I had gone up to Grand Rapids to play club, and that was a great experience as well. But I think Culver was, the right mix of, a challenge both in hockey and academically, which is something that, a lot of, I think you'll hear players say, I really focus on academics as well because, it's going to be a lifelong thing. So, Culver was just a great opportunity for me to develop as a whole person. And it prepared me well for college. So very thankful to have that opportunity.
Yeah, and at Culver, you had a lot of individual success and a lot of team success as well. You led your school to the 2019 U AAA Midget A Regional Championship in 2019, and you also won the Defensive Player of the Year award in 2019 as well. Just talk about your experience at Culver overall, and what do you take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, that individual success, I think I always approach it as team success. Like I was really thankful to just have the opportunity to be on that team. I had so many great role models during my time there and looked up to them. So I think, they're great leaders and skaters. So I think just working as hard as I could all the time, bringing my best game every day to contribute to the team. And I think obviously those individual awards are great, but I think to me, it's definitely a team success.
Yeah, and something I found interesting about yourself just doing research is what you did off the ice at Culver, because I thought that was really awesome. You were involved in a lot of clubs. You were part of the Latin Club. You were the class secretary. You were part of the leadership committee for Africa, Green Life, and the Rights Awareness Program. Just how'd you balance doing all that stuff along with hockey?
Yeah, I think I mean I loved those were all passions of mine, and Culver is a leadership school too. So like I said, it really prepared me as a whole person, and I think it's kind of it's hidden away in Indiana, so I don't think a lot of people know about it. But I mean, it prepared me so well. You don't go home because it is a boarding school, but that gives you a lot of time to focus on extracurriculars. And those obviously being passions of mine just made it that much easier to do it with my friends and then also my teammates as well, being in a prep school. So I think it prepared me well for college because it taught me how to balance all of those things together and how to excel in that.
Yeah, no, I know for myself. I never heard of Culver Academy until I had Dylan Patera on the podcast. I don't know if you know who he is, but he plays for Bentley, and he went to Culver. And just hearing about the school and how it developed him to the player he is today, it was really interesting. And doing more research on it ever since that interview, it's such a cool place, and it seems like such a good school to go to.
Yeah, I think like you said, not many people know about it, so it's definitely something that I hope we can get on the map too, because it has a lot to offer, and again, developing as a whole. So it definitely is on the rise, I think.
Now, just what did you do in some of those clubs? Like, do you have any cool memories you want to share about doing certain things, especially with, I guess, One of them was the honor representative and being the leadership committee of all those programs. Just what was the coolest thing you did with those clubs?
Yeah, I think again, Culver being a leadership school, the honor representative position was something that I was really grateful to have the opportunity to do. There's one from each dorm in the girls' academy, so that kind of involves, training, new girls into their leadership positions. I guess as new girls, learning the ropes and kind of what it means to be, a Culver Girls Academy member. It's not like but it was a lot of fun to have that and to learn under a lot of people. And so I think, yeah, it was a great experience. I think I'll always remember for my entire life.
Now, how did Culver help prepare you for college hockey with Northeastern?
Yeah, like you mean in terms of hockey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was fortunate enough to be under a couple different coaches there, and just so much knowledge and so much experience through my time there, and that really allowed me to kind of figure out my identity as a player. Those kind of high school years are really crucial, especially for going into college and whatnot. So I think having the opportunity to be under those coaches and then see again, Culver being a program on the rise, some of those players that I played with going on to play in college, and just learning under them. But again, just kind of establishing my identity as a player over those 3 years that I was there. Yeah.
Now, just talk about your recruitment process. What was that like, and what made you want to go to Northeastern?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little different than most. I was considered, obviously recruiting rules have changed, but I was considered a late commitment. It was the end of my junior year. Northeastern saw me at Cushing Academy tournament that prior winter. I'd had some opportunities from some other great programs, but I think the complete package that Northeastern offers is just unparalleled. Top-notch academics, the co-op program, which I'm excited to take part in, and again, like I mentioned, the location of it being in Boston. There's just such great energy there. But yeah, in terms of the team, the hockey team, just like a wonderful team culture. And then the coaching staff is just, so inclusive and so, they care about us as people, like I said, over players. So obviously our development is crucial, but, they're always checking in on us and making sure, especially after this year, it was an interesting year. And having them and our support staff as well, our trainers, and all that. So it was just great, and especially the team leadership that we had, and we do have with Brooke Hobson, Aaron Frankel, Alina Mueller, Andrew Renner. So it was just one big family, and so that's kind of why I chose it. It was, I could see that right off the bat. So
Now, you mentioned the co-op opportunity that you're going to have this year, and I saw it was also mentioned on the website as well. Just describe what that is and what do you plan to do using that opportunity, because I find that very interesting.
yeah, it's not something that a lot of schools offer, which again, that unique aspect drew me to the school, because it really offers a real world experience. Basically, the co-op is an internship that you take part in during one semester. Usually you do 2 co-ops, so it'll be a total of a whole year. So that's why a lot of students end up with 5 years at the program, just because it gives you a lot of real world experience and you make a lot of connections, especially me being a business major. That's really important to establish those connections early and often. So I'm excited to see. I'll probably do it in this coming spring, but I don't know what I would do yet. I'm trying to figure out what that might look like. But a lot of our players do that and have always had great experiences. So should be great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the speed of the game, making quicker decisions with the puck? Just what was the biggest adjustment you had to make overall?
Yeah, I think you said, I think the most obvious change that a lot of people, and it is true, is the speed of the game. Definitely the speed. But I think one of the bigger adjustments for me as a first year player was just finding you know, how you're going to capitalize on the strengths of your own game. Like I said, like I was finding my identity as a player at Culver. But you want to be able to put your best foot forward for your team. Everyone has unique skill sets. And so I realized that this first year it was about settling into those strengths, working hard to improve them so that I can help the team in the best way possible because, everyone is good. Everyone's, very skilled. And so figuring out what you do best so that you can contribute and figuring out what that role is, just being able to fulfill it is really kind of, I think, one of the bigger adjustments, but definitely the speed as well.
Now, what was the biggest improvement you've made to your game since playing your first year in college?
Um, I think just knowing my responsibilities, again, going with the role, um, being able to execute those consistently and accurately, just being a better teammate by knowing what those responsibilities are. You're playing with 5 other, like I said, elite players on the ice at one time. So just knowing that you don't need to worry about anyone else's job, but just to focus on, what's my job and how can I execute it to the best of my ability. And I think one of the things that I loved and that I learned the most was it's not necessarily about doing more, but doing less better, which is kind of weird. But I think if you can figure out what your niche is and what you do well and just capitalize on that, then that's kind of, what you can do to help your team succeed.
Now, Northeastern had a great regular season. You guys only lost one game, and that was to Boston College, which was your first game of the season. Just what was the key for maintaining that success throughout the regular season?
Yeah, I think, we had an amazing leadership core, like I said. So our keys throughout the year were just, we had a few words that we always had, but it was relentless, humble, hungry, and grateful. I think our coaches did a great job of keeping us focused on what was ahead, always moving forward and preparing for whatever could come our way because of, the unorthodox nature of the season. Because nothing was really given to anyone this year. It was always day to day. You never knew if there'd be a positive test, a cancellation, you just never knew. So, yeah, I think our leadership and our coaching staff, our support staff were just all, pivotal in making sure that, we were having that success. And again, like I mentioned, we were just one big family. So, being grateful for all those moments.
Now, how does your team handle the pressure of being the number one team in the country, especially since there's a lot of outside noise that comes with that ranking?
Yeah, I think I could still circle back to being grateful. Just being grateful to be together, grateful to step on the ice every day. Because again, you don't know, what could be your last. For the team last year, having won the Hockey East and then having the playoffs taken away for everybody was something that you can never know what's ahead. So I don't think we ever really thought about rankings, though. I think we always just played our game. We had the mindset of working to achieve something greater together, which was, amazing to be a part of.
Is it hard not to focus on the rankings though? Because you see it all the time when you're just scrolling through social media, or I'm assuming they're always promoting it on campus. So how do you try to like not focus on that and just focus on your game?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's around and you see it for sure. But I think the culture that we have is a really, it's a I guess it makes it easy not to focus on that because everyone's just having a great time together. And yeah, I guess it normally probably could have been something that could have controlled and could have kind of had trouble with, your mindset throughout the season, but, it made it really easy. And looking back on it, we hardly thought about it, which is crazy to think about. So.
Yeah, and another thing I want to talk to you about was you were mentioning how you had to deal with some challenges this year because of the pandemic. One of those challenges was having to adjust to a lot of schedule changes, especially in Hockey East, because you didn't know who you were going to play until the Tuesday before the weekend. So, what was the key for maintaining flexibility for this year? And what was it like preparing for opponents this year, not knowing who you were going to play until the Tuesday before the weekend, like I just mentioned?
Yeah, I think, our coaching staff, our athletic director, and Hockey East just did a great job of, minimizing those changes as best that they could, and informing us as soon as they could as well. It was hard for sure, but again, being grateful for those opportunities that we had was important to staying mentally prepared. Many uncontrollables for sure, but having a routine and sticking to it, um, no matter what, was important, so that you can just be ready for whatever might come.
Now, another thing that was introduced to college hockey this year was 3-on-3 overtime. As a defenseman, what was that like, having more space on the ice and having more offensive opportunities in overtime situations?
Yeah, I mean, we have such a great team and such a deep team. We only had 2 games, I believe, that we did play 3-on-3 overtime. I think we tied and won, respectively. As a freshman, I didn't play in either of them, but it was definitely exciting to watch. But I think the concept of having more room to skate, having more room to be creative, is really exciting and something I look forward to participating in the future, because I think it really makes that overtime really exciting. But it was amazing to watch players like you mentioned as a D, players like Skylar and Brooke Hobson and Megan Carter, Lauren McInnes, like watching them move on the ice and see what that's like, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously Alina Mueller, seeing her on the 3-on-3 was just nasty, so that was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was insane. I think even her on the penalty kill, like sometimes it seemed like a power play, like but she's just an unbelievable player, unbelievable person.
Yeah, no, I think she's probably one of the best women's hockey players in the world right now. What's it like getting a chance to play with a player like that? And were you starstruck when you like first saw her for the first time?
Yeah, I think to play with her is amazing. She makes everybody else around her better. And that's not just in hockey, that's in life too. I've just been so grateful to be, around her as a player. But I think, she just loves the game of hockey. She has a passion for it, and she passes that along to everyone on our team. Always having a good time, but she's, you know, again, making everyone around her better. Always smiling. It's her happy place. So
Yeah. And another thing I liked about the 3-on-3 this year was just how it eliminated ties, because last year it was so awful to watch a great game, and then it ends off in a tie. It was just brutal. I'm assuming as a player you feel the same way about that.
yeah, I think like I said, it's definitely exciting. Trying to move the game of women's hockey forward. It makes it really fun to watch. And yeah, definitely not something ending up in a tie can leave a bitter taste in your mouth if the game was just an amazing game. So I think that was fun for us to participate in, and I think really a great idea by the league for sure.
Now, just talk about this year's Hockey East tournament. You obviously won it for yourself. It was the first time you ever won the Hockey East tournament. Just describe what's that playoff experience like, because you beat UNH in the first game. UConn gave you some trouble in the second game, but you pulled off that win. And then you obviously beat Providence at home to cap off and win that league title.
Yeah, I mean, it's my first year, so I think winning Hockey East was amazing. It's the greatest championship experience I've had so far. Winning. And so I think, for Northeastern, it was the 4th year in a row that they had won. So I think it was, especially special for all those seniors having done that. And I think, they've put in so much work before, us as a freshman class before we came in. And so it's just, it's kind of weird to, almost kind of don't want to take credit for it because they've always done so much and they work so hard. And, but being a part of that group was just amazing, just to see how, and again, their work ethic, everyone's good. So just to be a part of that, to grow, I think winning Hockey East is always a goal for us. Our program has evolved to where we want to achieve more. We have that winning mentality, but I don't think it's always something difficult to do is winning Hockey East, because the division is just so there's a lot of great teams. So I think it makes it that much more special to do, and something that I hope we're going to continue to always have that mentality and excitement for that. So
I think it was even harder this year just because it was single elimination. There wasn't any series to start off the tournament. So I thought that was interesting. Did you like the single elimination format, just because I feel like more upsets happened because of it?
Yeah, I think obviously as a freshman, I don't know what the standard normally feels like, but I think that was exciting because that you have to put your best foot forward for every game. You can't be caught off guard, or otherwise it could be over in the blink of an eye. So I think we knew that going in, and again having that mentality of just being ready for everything and anything all year kind of made us mentally callous so that we were ready for that position, um, just ready to go.
Now, what was your mindset heading into the national tournament this year?
Yeah, I think obviously after coming off that win, it was great. And again, I think our program has evolved to that. We want to achieve more. So I think it's a great stepping stone for us. So our mindset going in was just continue to do what we do well, consistently, because again the team is just, yeah, I guess that's just kind of what we're always moving towards, what we want as a goal for the coming years. So the mentality was just keep doing what we do well.
Now, the first game you played against Robert Morris, and it's kind of tough to talk about it now just because Robert Morris obviously ended their program, but just talk about the challenges that that team brought to you in that game and just what was it like getting your first tournament win and heading on to the Frozen Four?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I think Robert Morris is a great team. They played us extremely well, and I think it's a tragedy that their leadership at Robert Morris cut their funding. So especially after all they've achieved. So I think it was our first win as a program in the NCAA tournament, so it was definitely exciting for us. And it gave us a lot of energy for the rest of the tournament for sure. But yeah, they played well, they played hard, they played physical, and yeah, it was for a first experience as a freshman. That was amazing. And again, we had fans for the first time, and that was, yeah, I'd never had fans in a college game before as a freshman, all four of us. So that was a really special experience for sure.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. Just what was the atmosphere like at the tournament game? Because it was only like 25% capacity, but it still felt like you could hear the crowd when you're watching it on TV. And I guess what was it like having that atmosphere, even though it wasn't at 100% capacity?
Yeah, I think we always got messages, people saying, I haven't watched hockey in like over a year. So I think there was so much anticipation for the fans, and to have my family in attendance was amazing. I was surprised by a lot of my family members I didn't know were coming. So that was extremely special. But I think there was a lot of anticipation for people to be there, and so um, it was wild for sure to have that environment change a little bit. But we knew it didn't change a whole lot for us. I think obviously we're much more, um, we're still driven and motivated regardless. But that was just really special to have everyone there.
And another thing I want to ask you was you only played conference opponents this year in the regular season. What was the adjustment like playing against teams in the CHA and WCHA once the tournament started?
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely playing the same teams the whole season. It was great because obviously as someone who's followed college hockey for a while, Hockey East is a great conference. They all are. So that was great to play all those teams. Boston College, Boston University. But I think it was great to play those other teams and see what those conferences are like, because there's a lot of skill set in all of them. So I think we knew if we just stuck to our game plan, again, that we'd be okay if we just continued to work hard, and battle all three periods.
So the next game, in the first game of the Frozen Four, you played Minnesota Duluth. You guys were down by 2 goals heading into the third period. What was the message in the locker room heading into that third period? And just talk about the 2 goals that were scored by Maureen Murphy and Katie Noll in that third period to bring your team to overtime in that game.
Yeah, I think it kind of. I think if you just walked in that locker room, it might surprise you. I mean, there was really no panic. Um, I think we had confidence in our game, and that's not in a cocky way by any means. We just knew that, we had all the tools, and that's what Coach Flint came in saying. I think you've put in all the work, you're ready. You have all that you need. You just need to go out there and play, the rest of these 20 minutes, and again, like we were calm. We knew what we had to do, and we knew if we scored one, it would shift the entire momentum of the game. So that was our goal. We want to score quick. Like I think it was first 5 minutes. We just wanted shots, shots, shots. And obviously that did happen. So once that one went in, we had a feeling of we can do this. We can do this together as a team, and that was the whole mentality.
Now, Duluth and Wisconsin are both very physical teams because they play in the WCHA compared to hockey's, where it's a little bit more speed and skill type of teams. How'd you adjust to that physicality in that game and in the game against Wisconsin as well?
Yeah, I think as a freshman to play those WCHA teams is a lot of fun. Um, and like you said, having to adjust to that physicality because they played, there were fewer teams, in the WCHA that were playing, so they were playing each other constantly. So they were comfortable with each other, but and having played in the Hockey East, all those teams, we had experience with that, but not knowing exactly what they were going to bring. We had our video to rely on, which our coaches did a great job of. But yeah, I think we knew that we had all the tools. We just needed to, continue to work hard. I keep saying it, but I think that our confidence in our game and just having that mentality, not in in a humble way, just because we're just we believe in ourselves.
Now, Skylar Fontaine obviously scored that goal in overtime. Just talk about what was going through your head when she scored that goal, because to me, it felt like the puck took like 10 seconds or to go in the net. It took forever. I don't
Yeah.
know what it felt like on the bench, but it must have felt longer if you were a player in that game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I our bench was just electric. Um, I think there was a feeling in the air. We were putting a lot of pressure on them. But yeah, I mean, Skylar's a pressure player. She's dynamic, like I said, and I was just so happy for her and the team just to have gotten that one. I think that was maybe a monkey off her back for the game because she just had so many opportunities that game. She was relentless, and again, it's amazing to play in the same decor as her. But yeah, I think going through my head, I was sitting on the bench and I was watching it from the jumbotron. Which I wish I wasn't. I wish I'd seen it. But I saw her shoot the puck, and then I turned and I saw it in real time trickle in, and I was, it jumps up and went over the bench. So that was just amazing to be a part of that, and we were just ecstatic.
Yeah, no, I was reading that like she had like 12 shots in the entire game, and the final one finally went in the net. So that was a huge monkey off her back, like you just said. And players that I've spoken to that were in that game were saying how like everyone was telling her just keep shooting. I think Alina Mueller said that to me as well. So it was just cool to hear like how she just kept shooting it and obviously went in.
Yeah, she's a great player. Yeah, I'll always say it. But yeah, I think like we said, we had so many chances in that third period once that momentum shift happened. So it was a great relief. I think we knew that we'd put in that work, and obviously we were then heading to the championship game. So it was just unreal. It was surreal.
And one thing I want to ask you, I was reading an article about Aaron Frankel winning the Patty Kazmaier, and they were showing some photos from that Duluth and Northeastern game, and there was a photo where Frankel accidentally pushed one of the Duluth players on you. I just got to ask, what was that like, just because I thought that was an interesting photo.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I don't I don't remember exactly what I was thinking, but I don't know. She's an amazing goaltender, as we all know, and um, she's got a special style, I think, and so she's always to play in front of her as a D. It's you want to put your best foot forward for every single game because she works so hard. So you just want to do the same, and so I think I don't exactly remember that moment, but I think she's always tenacious in front of the net. As an act, she's an extremely athletic player. So yeah, I don't exactly remember that. I wish I could give you a little more insight, but yeah, no, she's just an amazing player, amazing person.
Yeah, no, that's why I could never be a defenseman, because just like you're just trying to, play in front of the net, and then all of a sudden your goalie just makes a shove and another player falls on you. I don't know how you deal with that.
I'll take it any day for Heron.
Now, how did you handle the nerves of playing in a national championship game against Wisconsin? Obviously, they're one of the best teams in the country. They won the tournament, like we all know. So, just how did you deal with the nerves of playing against that team and playing in that big type of game?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're one of the most storied teams, I think, in women's hockey history. So I think that was exciting to be a part of that game. But I think once we got into the game and into the groove, I think you realize it was just like any other game, that we were prepared for it, that we put in the work. Um, and just to handle the nerves, I think, again, just focusing on your role, like focusing on my role and what can I do? What is my role so that I can help the team, and not trying to focus on anything else. Yeah, definitely. We put in the work. We had all the tools, and now we just need to execute. So again, not doing more, but doing less better.
Oh, we obviously talked about your reaction when Skylar Fontaine got that overtime winner goal, but I have to ask you, what was your reaction when Darrell Watts scored that overtime winner against you guys? Just because, like, when I watched it, I didn't even realize it went in until all the Wisconsin players were celebrating. So it must have been like a weird feeling for the team, especially on the bench, just maybe not realizing that the puck might have went in the net or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was just shock. I think it happened so fast, and it was a situation where I think no one expected it to go in. So a weird bounce, it was over. Something we'd work hard for all season. It was just gone in an instant over like a fluky goal. So that was hard. Shocking for me as a freshman, but again, as a freshman, I think that team, like I mentioned earlier, the team before us, the sophomores, juniors, seniors, they've sacrificed so much over the past few years. They've grown and worked to put us in position to be in that game. And so it was just so special to be in that position with those girls, with that group. So I think our team's so resilient, so close knit. So I think we're bouncing back, and we're going to use this as fuel.
Oh yeah, if I was another team in hockey East, I would be shivering just because you guys have that feel, and you guys obviously had a lot of success last year. I feel like when you mix that together, it's just a team that's just ruthless and just keeps coming at you. So definitely, a lot of hockey East teams are scared, but you know what? There are a lot of good teams in hockey, so they're definitely ready for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great teams, and so we know we always have to put our best foot forward because we know they will too. So I think it's definitely going to be a really fun season, especially since we only lose I think one player. So Bernie Capelli, obviously a great player, an amazing person, but I think we have some good ads coming in, some good freshmen and a transfer. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what it's going to look like.
Yeah, no, I am too. It should be very fun. Do you think hockey is kind of like an underrated conference? Is just because I feel like some teams do not get enough credit that they deserve in that conference, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I think, a lot of people think of the WCHA teams when they think of college hockey because there are a lot of, Wisconsin, Ohio State, big name schools that a lot of people know of. But definitely, I think teams like Maine, a very physical team, they're always very fun to play. I'm excited to play at their rink. We never went up there, but that should be fun. BU and BC, both great teams. We haven't had the opportunity. I mean, this year, so I haven't been able to play BU yet, but I'm excited for that. But yeah, definitely a lot of skill in that conference. Underrated, but I think we're on the rise, and it should be a fun year.
Now, what do you overall take away from your freshman year, and just yeah, what do you overall take away from it?
Yeah, I think I always come back to just grateful. I think grateful for the opportunity to be on the team. Grateful for all of my teammates and coaches, support staff, and the school. Just grateful to be in Boston. It's been a weird year for everyone, and it's kind of getting old to talk about it. But I think that circling back to what is what you have and what we have to look forward for next year too.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So my first question to you is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
Um, I think maybe Sandra Bullock.
Hmm.
I think just because I love her sense of humor, um, and she doesn't take herself too seriously.
Now, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week? If you need time to think about it, I'll give you my answer.
Um, I would like to hear your answer too, but I think probably I know it's supposed to be non-hockey, but I think Aaron Frankel winning yet another award in the Bob Allen Women's Player of the Year. I think that was amazing. I mean, again, she's such a tremendous athlete and an even greater teammate and friend. So I think it's great to see her recognized for all the hard work that she puts in, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously winning the Patty Kaz award. What was your reaction when you saw that? Because it took forever for them to announce it, first of all. That's one complaint. It took like an hour. I didn't even
Yeah,
watch the entire show just because it took so long.
yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of cool that they did do a segment just to kind of highlight those people as players because obviously they're all great athletes. But definitely the anticipation was building. We had like a
But for
little
you,
fun.
it would be longer just because you actually know Aaron as a person off the
Yeah,
ice.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we had a little watch party of a bunch of players, and so it was just I don't know. I think for some reason we just felt as soon as we figured out that Kendall was going to be making the announcement, I think we were like, okay, it has to be Erin. But not only just because she's of what she has accomplished as a player. But yeah, that was definitely a lot of fun to see, and we were just jumping up and down and just so excited for her.
Now, I know I'm going off track from your answer for a little bit, but the most interesting thing that I saw this week was a guy got swallowed by a humpback whale. I don't know if you saw that. Apparently, the story might be wrong. There's been some doubters, according to some expert lobster divers that know like what's it like to dive. But apparently, this dude got swallowed by a humpback whale and had to go to the hospital. And it just reminded me of Finding Nemo, and I thought it was a really interesting story. So I wanted to share it on the podcast.
That's so interesting. I did not know that.
Now, who is the funniest teammate you have at Northeastern?
Funniest teammate. We have a lot of really funny people. I think it definitely the energy of the locker room is always great. Um, but I would have to say, well, first one that popped into my head would be my direct roommate, Molly Griffin, another freshman. She's just so funny. She makes me smile all the time. Makes me laugh. I don't think she's trying to be funny, but I don't know. She's just a great person and obviously a great athlete. So yeah, she's hilarious.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team. That's an undisputed fact. I see you rocking that great necklace right now. But besides yourself, who has the best style on the team?
Um, I think I have to say Tessa Ward's got good style. I've heard some of the other players on the team on the podcast say that as well, and I think that's very true. Um, and again, I think there was someone on off ice as well, but Alina's always got good pregame outfits. But yeah, I think yeah, Tessa, Annie has really good style too. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Now, last question for yourself is what music do you like to listen to just on a general basis?
Yeah, I listen to pretty much about anything. Our team, we like to listen to like mixes in the pregame. But yeah, I honestly don't have like a favorite genre. I don't think. I like alternative EDM. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of good good music. It kind of changes from the seasons, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm more of a EDM, hip hop, country guy. Very, very
Yeah,
different styles of music, but that's what I like to tend to go to. It's really I have a playlist for each genre that I go to.
yeah. I Spotify's like Molly always jokes it's like my therapy because
Hmm.
I don't know, it's just fun. I enjoy music a lot and yeah.
Now, back to some hockey questions now. Now, we talked about this earlier, but Robert Morris, their program got shut down and their men's program got shut down as well. Obviously, the World Championships got canceled and rescheduled a few months ago as well. So, what, in your opinion, has to be done to help grow the sport of women's hockey?
Yeah, I think Women's hockey is exciting. Our tournament, the NCAA tournament, was I think a great example of that. But I think, and again, listening to your podcast, a lot of people said this as well. But I think if you can't see it, you can't be it. And I think for our next generation of girls hockey, if they can see, again, our championship game was streamed on ESPNU, which was a great step, I think, in the right direction. But even for professional women's hockey, I think there's been a bunch on the PWHPA, on NBCSN, which is great. But I think coverage is definitely important. And I think the Boston area does a great job of doing that with Nesson in all of our Hockey East games, which is great. But I think we're lucky because in other areas it is lacking a little bit. So I think, yeah, definitely, like I said before, if you can't see it, you can't be it. So I think, young girls and even young boys, if they can see us on the ice, they can see themselves pursuing a dream. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, what advice would you give those younger players, I guess, on how to make it to be a D1 athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I think I grew up in a small town, like I said, in Michigan, that didn't have that rink until I was born. And so, having committed, having an unorthodox career, I think, and having committed late in my junior year, I think it's important for everybody to know that everyone has a different path, that there's no right way to do it, I think, that you just capitalize on the opportunities that you have. And another cliche, but just work hard. If you got to have fun and enjoy the process. Going to the rink and being with my teammates every day is the best part of my day. So I think having fun with it, but definitely understanding that everyone's path is different and the recruiting landscape is changing. But definitely, yeah, enjoy the game and have fun with it.
That's awesome. Well, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give to any of your teammates, family members, friends, anyone I haven't mentioned in this interview for you to shout them out now?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, my dad, he's a big supporter of my game and me in general. But yeah, he's always driving me to practices. We drive through 3 hours round trip for club hockey, and then they'd always come down to Culver to watch me play. So my parents for sure. But honestly, my entire family has always been really supportive and yeah, so it's been a great youth hockey experience, and so I'm excited for them to be able to watch our games next year because it's been a little distant, obviously, not having fans. So I'm excited for them next year to come out.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Abby, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and talking with me today. I had so much fun learning about your career and about the Northeastern women's hockey team. So I can't say thank you enough for that. You're a great player, but you're also an even better person. And I just want to let you know that. And so happy you got the chance to come on. And I'm so excited I got the chance to talk to you today. It really means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Like I said again, my dad and I are big fans, so keep up what
Awesome.
you're doing because I think that, like I said, you can't see it, you can't be it, but also for women's hockey, what you're doing is great, and spreading the word, I guess. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I love doing it, and I appreciate. It means a lot to me that you guys are big fans. I've never had anyone tell me that, so thank you a lot.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, thanks again.
Now,